There might not be a whole lot going on in the hockey world. That doesn't mean we don't have you covered. On today's edition of Locked On NHL, a whole lot of conversation.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Thursday edition of Locked On NHL. I am Nick Zararis, the host of Locked On Oilers. That is my good friend and one of the co-hosts of Locked On Penguins, Hunter Hodies. We want to thank everyone that is making Locked On NHL the first listen of their Thursday. Locked On NHL is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we've got your teams covered every day. On today's episode, which is brought to you by our friends at Game Time, you can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase, by the way. On today's episode, we are going to bat around a litany of topics. And full disclosure, Hunter's going in blind. I came up with 20 questions about varying NHL topics. He has no idea what's on the list here that I wrote down in my iPad. So, question number one, we're just going to get on into it. They're not in any particular order, so as time permits, we will block them out for each segment. Number one, very straightforward. Will Toronto regret not finding a way to make Mitch Marner work?
That's a really fun one to start off today's episode. I got to say that. I think in a way, yes, because Nick, you're replacing 100 points.
Yeah.
Like that is a lot.
And they're not even close in the aggregate of the guys they've brought in.
Like their offseason to me so far has been fine. But how many of those players, Nick, are combined going to replace that production? I don't see 100 points there, at least right now. I think they still need to make another addition at some point this offseason, in my opinion, because right now, like, do I see them as a playoff team next year? Oh, absolutely. They're going to make the playoffs. They will be a team to watch. But I don't think they are as good right now, especially without Marner.
No, absolutely not. Marner's role on the power play, on the penalty kill, a fringe Selke guy who can give you 100 points. I think he's 7th or 8th in points overall since he's entered the league. That's not something you replace every day. Teams struggle. It takes time to replace that. I am inclined to agree with you.
And also, with John Zararis, he had a great season last year, but Nick, he's another year older now. Is he going to repeat that success?
38 goals a lot for Tavares last year. That was kind of out of nowhere. So I will say, yes, they will regret it, barring them replacing that with something else. If they can find someone in their early 20s who's an RFA, who they can kind of use that $6 or $7 million sweet spot for 3 or 4 years to kind of supplement Nylander Matthews going forward, I do think they will come to regret it. Okay, question number 2. What's crazier, the Sharks not winning a Stanley Cup at all, or the Bruins not winning a second one?
Ooh. Honestly, I might go the Boston one just because that core was so damn
for so
good.
Long too.
Yeah.
I mean, 2011 they win the first one, and they won the President's Trophy 12 years later.
Yes, and they had multiple opportunities to win that second cup. I mean, Nick, that great series against Chicago, they were so close to setting that back for a Game 7. Yeah. You then have that crazy series against the St. Louis Blues. I feel like of the Bergeron era, that was the Bruins' biggest missed opportunity,
for sure, in
my opinion. And then you have one of the best regular seasons we've ever seen just a couple of seasons ago. And Nick, you are literally an inch away. You have that breakaway at the end of Game 5 with Marchand. The puck is on his stick, make the save, and then Ford is able to come back from 3-1 down. Again, that was also such a huge missed opportunity. So I would go with the Bruins, in my opinion.
I'm firmly in agreement with you. They made the cup final twice, 2 additional times. They made a couple conference finals. They lost as well, where they had reasonable chances. They lost 3 overtime games in that first round series to the Panthers a couple years ago when it was 1-8. So I think just on probability, I would say the Bruins. The Sharks, very worthy team, probably the best team of the 2010s to not win the Stanley Cup. Great core, but not in the same consistently great category I would put the Bruins of that decade. Okay, next up, this one, pay attention because I'm going to give you 5 options. Rank the following 5 goalies: Roberto Luongo, Carey Price, Henrik Lundqvist, Pekka Rinne, Marc-Andre Fleury.
Okay, I'm going to try to remember that the best I can. So,
okay,
Henrik Lundqvist 1. You said Luongo, Price, Fleury, and who else?
Pekka Rinne.
Luongo, Price, Rinne, Fleury. This is going to be really fun. I definitely Lundqvist 1. I'm going to go. I've been going back and forth between Luongo and Price for 2, just because they were both so good during their primes. Luongo 2, Price 3. Oh, I can't believe I'm saying this as a Penguins fan. Rene 4, Fleury 5. I love Marc-Andre Fleury, man, but there's a lot of people out there that overrate him. I think he was obviously very good for a long time, but those are my rankings. I could easily flip Price and Luongo, but that's how I see it. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I would go Luongo too for the longevity over Price. Price definitely higher peak, obviously won an MVP for his 2016-17 season, but I'm very inclined to agree with you. I think you have the exact order I would have. I think Rene, really nice flashes of greatness. Fleury, obviously one of the better goalies ever. Oh, yeah. The longevity, of course, being instrumental. Most goalie starts of anybody post 2000. I think that's a crazy stat. Okay, next up, another one of these ranking ones. This time it's defensemen. Brent Burns, Roman Josi, PK Subban, Erik Karlsson, Shea Weber.
Wow.
I'll go first this time and make it easier for you. Erik Karlsson 1, you win 3 Norrises, you're the first place guy. I would go Roman Josi 2. I think Josi has consistently been one of the best of the decade. I will go Brent Burns 3, Shea Weber 4, PK Subban 5. I think the differentiation point for me between Burns, Weber, and Subban, I just felt like Burns' longevity. I mean, Burns still gave the Hurricanes like 70 points last year, whereas Weber and Subban are out of the league. And of course, it's not your fault you get injured. That's just the nature of the game. But Burns is going to end up in the Hall of Fame more likely than not for the stats he's accumulated. I don't know about Subban. And Weber, of course, is there already. But I do think the counting stats, and I know the game has changed in the last 5 to 10 years where for the offense first defenseman has gotten more opportunity. But for me, that's the order I'm going with.
Yeah, I was kind of tempted to move Subban up 1 and then go Weber behind, but Weber's already in the Hockey Hall of Fame, so I really can't do that at this juncture. It's funny. You remember when that trade was made, Nick? Everyone was like, oh, man, he just got fleeced. Like, Subban is still the better player. But then, Weber had a really nice kind of late resurgence, if you want to call it that, like especially towards the late stages of his career with the Canadiens. So honestly, I'd probably have that exact order again. I was thinking about moving Subban up 1, but I'm like, nah, Weber's already in the Hall of Fame. I can't do that. That's ridiculous.
If you could pick any coach that's not currently coaching your favorite team to coach your team, who would you pick and why?
Oh, okay. See, like a lot of the coaches right now that are in the league are just like, there's not a lot of like good coaches that are out of the league.
Well, no, you could pick someone who's coaching another team. That's the point. You can steal someone.
Okay, I thought you
no, I don't think you should take Gerard Gallant from China to coach the Penguins.
I thought you were doing this like without.
No. Anybody you want. Anyone you want.
All right, John Cooper.
Yeah, I feel like that's the consensus answer. If you wanted to give Bruce Cassidy or Jim Montgomery a shout, I'd be good with either of those guys as well. But we've consistently seen those three be able to get more. I mean, what Jim Montgomery was able to do with the Blues the second half of the season was really remarkable.
One of the best teams in the league in the second half. They were tremendous offensively. They were stingy defensively. Just sucks what happened to them in Game 7 because they probably deserved to go through. They were the better team in that series as a whole, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree with you for sure. All right, one more quick one. What is the loudest arena on TV? When you are watching a game on TV, what arena comes off as the loudest?
It used to be, at least when the Islanders were there, the Coliseum, even though that place to me was such a dump.
It is a dump.
Now, I think it's the Winnipeg Whiteout. During the playoffs, that place gets rowdy. But a close second, Nick, Edmonton. Yeah. That building goes nuts. And you saw that during the playoffs these last couple of years. Yeah. That building can get really loud. So I would say those two are my top ones.
I would agree with you for sure with those two, and I'd like to give an honorable mention for Montreal. It was good to get them back in the playoffs this year. Yeah. I still think the largest building in the league attendance wise. They jam people in every single nook and cranny of that place, and it really comes across on TV. All right, we are going to take our first break, and when we come back, we'll tackle things like the best broadcasting teams, what's more important, health or elite goaltending, rule change ideas, and a whole lot more. So be sure to stick around to this edition of Locked On NHL. We have all been there. Logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose our spot or not come away with tickets at all. Live music should be about the fans and making memories, not dealing with the stress of getting tickets. And that's where our friends at Game Time come in clutch. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Did you know prices actually drop the closer it gets to showtime? You can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. If you're tired of endlessly scrolling, looking for the best bang for your buck, Game Time Zone Deals pick the best seats in your section for you. My personal favorite part of the Game Time ticket experience, the panoramic seat view, where they'll show you the view from your seat so there are no surprises the night of the show. And if you're worried about what happens if plans change, the Game Time guarantee has your back with cancellation protection and so much more. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you to everyone who's hanging out with Hunter and I on this very potpourri edition of Locked On NHL. We just covered the loudest arena on TV. Speaking of TV, which is your favorite broadcast team? You can take that however you want. If it's a local team, if it's a national team, which broadcast team are you the most excited to see when they are together? I know my answer. They don't do a lot of games together anymore, but I do know my answer.
So I think the top Hockey Night in Canada team is my favorite national one. You know, when you look at ESPN and TNT, there's just so much to be desired with those broadcasts. Yeah. I will say, there's a lot of people that harp a lot on Sean McDonough, and I agreed at the start he wasn't that good at hockey, but he has gotten a lot better the last year and change. He was tremendous during the Four Nations, really good during the playoffs this year, especially that Game 7, Dallas, Colorado. He called that game. He was really good. I think he's gotten a lot better. Like, you can see, like, he's obviously been a college football guy and he's done a lot of NFL, but he's really getting into hockey a lot more this last year and change. Local, gonna sound weird, Nick. Washington is really good because Joe Beninati is a tremendous play-by-play announcer, one of the best in the business. That's why I have Washington as one of my favorites. It's funny. I'll sometimes go a little out of my way to watch that one, even when it's Sportsnet Pittsburgh here, just because I love the way Joe calls the game. So those are two of my favorites.
My favorite national team, they don't do a lot of games for TSN anymore, but when Ray Ferraro and Gord Miller together, that's my favorite duo in hockey. It just makes me think of the World Juniors. It makes me think of Leafs games back in the day. I love the energy they have, and that's really the hardest thing, is that a lot of these teams get thrown together, and the guys don't have familiarity with each other. Yeah. That's kind of the issue with the ESPN and the TNT teams down here in the States. It kind of sounds like three guys who are vaguely having a conversation with each other, as opposed to three people who are actually calling a game together. And then locals, I'll give a shout out to Brendan Burke and Butch Goring as a Ranger fan saying that. Burke's the best play-by-play guy who's only doing, who's a B guy in hockey because he's TNT's B team. But Brendan Burke's, for my money, probably the best play-by-play announcer in the game today. I love Big Game Bob and Callahan, the ESPN B team as well, which usually calls like puck dump-ins, like their game-winning goals, and it just makes the viewing experience all the more pleasurable.
Forsland is also great.
Forsland's great. Yeah,
he's tremendous.
Yeah, the B teams at a lot of these places, Forsland, he's on like the C team at TNT, has done a really good job for a long time. Okay. What is your favorite alternate or retro jersey in the NHL?
Ooh.
This can be Penguins or any team if you prefer another one.
The throwback Ducks jerseys.
Yeah. Which ones?
Which ones I'm talking about. What'd you say?
Well, which ones? The one with the big actual physical duck holding the stick, or the one that's more like in line with the late 90s one when they won the Stanley Cups?
The late 90s one. That's the one. It's timeless, man. I love it.
It's iconic. It's one of the best. I'll give a shout out to the Jets Heritage jersey. I have one of those. I really like that logo. I really liked who's winner. I really like the one Bruins jersey. I forget if it was 2 years ago or last year, the 100th anniversary one, that different shade of gold. It was a really nice accentuation. I really like that one. And then
I did want to shout out the Coyotes alternate.
The Kachina.
Yes,
the Kachina.
I loved that jersey, man.
Yeah. That's a good one. Everybody's Irish on St. Patrick's Day, but I do ride for the St. Pat's Leafs jersey every year around March 17th. It's nice. They only break it out once a year. It's a nice piece. It's a nice accentuation. Okay. You can take this in one of two ways. You can refer to this in terms of a specific iteration of a team or for the continuity of the franchise over the last, let's say, 15 years or so. What's the best team to not win a Stanley Cup? You can pick a specific year iteration of a team or, the Rangers, the Sharks, whomsoever. Which team do you think was the best to not come away with one? We can do the Jets.
Penguins, baby. That team was stacked beyond belief. I hate the New York Islanders forever because of that series. That's team was stacked. Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer. The season that everyone had was insane. They should have won the cup that year. Sorry.
That's a good answer. For me, I'll go the 2018 Jets. That team in particular sticks in the back of my brain as one that probably should have broken through. They were just dead from having played Nashville in maybe the best second-round series of the last 15 to 20 years. They fell, of course, to Vegas, who lost to the Capitals in the Stanley Cup final that year. Okay, this is an interesting philosophical question, and I'm very curious to hear what you say. Which team would be better? The New Jersey Devils, if nobody ever got hurt, or the Edmonton Oilers, if they had 9-10 goaltending?
Wow. Like this iteration of the Oilers?
Yeah, either of the last 2 years. If you want to say the team that lost in 7 or the team that lost in 6, and let's say they have a 9-10, 9-11 save percentage goalie. They have a Thatcher Demko type goalie. Which is better, that or the Devils if Jack Hughes and Dougie Hamilton are made of titanium?
I'd go with the Oilers just because they badly need an upgrade there. And, Stuart Skinner, Cal Picker, they're just not the answer if you really want to fully win the Stanley Cup. I know they've gotten to the final 2 straight years with those guys, but I still feel like they need at least a little bit more of a difference maker there. So I will go with the Oilers for that one.
I agree with you purely because the Oilers were 1 goal away from winning a Stanley Cup with Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard. And look, real quick, I talked about this on the Thursday edition of Locked On Oilers, so I don't want to drag too much, but they didn't lose the Stanley Cup final because of Skinner or Pickard. But if you had an elite goalie, you might be able to swing one of the games in each of the 2 years. And it can never hurt. The more opportunities you have to win, the better. Okay, this will be the last question for our second segment. You can pick any player that is active in the NHL, game for your life. Who are you taking and why? You can pick any position. You can pick any player. This is the first guy you're picking for your team. Who you got and why?
See,
because nostalgia and your inner fan is telling you take Sid.
That's our fan. I'll take Prime Sid any day. I need someone to win me a game. Prime Sid. Hell, even now the guy had 90 plus points last year. I easily could just say Prime McDavid too, but he also hasn't won the Stanley Cup yet. Which, sorry, Nick, I know you just have to be factual here, but I need anyone. Prime Sid every time, man.
I think of the guys presently in the league, I think your argument comes down to Sid, McDavid, and McKinnon. I think those are the 3 guys you circle in on. McKinnon has been great for a long time. You could throw Kucherov in here as well. Yep. Point, who's been one of the best playoff performers of the last 10 to 15 years as well. For me, though, I am still probably going to take – it comes down to McDavid versus Crosby, and I think – I said it when we did the episode the day of the gold medal game in the Four Nations. You don't pick against the team that's got these guys on it. And if you have to pick between the two, and this is going to sound silly as my reasoning, but I really do believe this in my heart of hearts. Canada's not losing with Sidney Crosby in the Olympics next year either for this reason. Nobody wants to be the guy who lets Sid down. That's the thing, man. You think about how Sid's missed 3 Olympic cycles because of the labor stuff, where they probably should have gone in 16, they should have gone in 20, they should have went 2 years ago. But alas, when you think about it, where we're at now, I don't think you pick against Sid. As much as I love McDavid, I think McDavid's the best player in the world. I think you take Sid and you feel great about it. All right, we got one more break, and then we've got some fun questions about what do you value, who might break the Canadian Cup curse, and a whole lot more. Be sure to stick around to this edition of Locked On NHL. Okay, Hunter, my friend, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 8 questions left. 3 of these are very short, so let's do the short ones fast. Number 1, what will be the team Quinn Hughes plays for after his current contract expires?
I kind of want to say the New Jersey Devils just because of the tampering contract, but in my heart, Nick, I think Vancouver finds a way to keep him. Like you cannot let a talent like this leave. Like their fans will revolt on that front office and the ownership. So I think it's going to be Vancouver.
I agree. I will agree with you. The fun answer, of course, is the Devils, but I think the Canucks will, frankly, like kneecap their own roster and give him such a ludicrous amount of money that he would look stupid to leave. But again, if money isn't the number one priority, whatever. Okay. Number 2, who's got your favorite goal song in the NHL?
Favorite goal song? Ooh, that's a fun one. It honestly, like the Bruins one was really fun. It's
the Zombie Nation.
That one was really good. The Canucks one is also, I think, really fun. The Penguins, they're up there too. I don't like Chicago's. Chelsea Dagger sucks. I'm sorry. Sorry to the Blackhawks fans out there. I can't stand that goal song. But honestly, I might go Vancouver. I really like their especially their playoff goal song, Nick.
Yeah.
That's a really fun one. So I think I'm going to go the Canucks.
Okay. For goal song, I really like the Jets. Yeah. I really like the Stars, the Pantera song.
Yes.
That's a good one.
That's a very good one.
Yeah. Those are the 2 that come to mind the most for me. Okay. If you could either change one rule or steal a rule from another league, what would you like to add?
Change one rule. Okay. We don't need a shootout after 3-on-3 5-minute overtime. So how about we just extend the overtime to 7, 8 minutes?
7 minutes?
You don't even need to do a 10-minute overtime. Like we've seen that the league is against it, but I think you can do a 7 to 8 minute overtime. I would be stunned if almost any of those games end in a tie after 7 to 8 minutes of 3-on-3. I would be really surprised. Like, sure, you're still seeing some shootouts in a 3-on-3 5-minute overtime, but you extend it, Nick, by 2 to 3 more minutes. You're not going to get hardly any shootouts, in my opinion. So that's what I would change.
I agree with you on that. I would like to steal the jailbreak rule from the PWHL, where if a team scores shorthanded, the penalty kills over.
I like that.
You get your guy back if you score shorthanded. I think that's a very fair way to penalize the team for giving up a shorthanded goal, which should be the case. So that's the one I'm going with there. Okay. Rank these 3 players if we were in gym class and you could pick them in any order. Connor McDavid, Quinn Hughes, or Connor Hellebuck.
For what? Sorry?
We're in gym class. We're playing a game of hockey.
Yeah.
You have the first pick. Do you want the best goalie, the best defenseman, or the best forward?
I'm going Connor McDavid every time.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think that very much comes down to your positional value argument that we have all the time. How much is a defenseman worth in relation to a forward? How much is a forward worth in relation to a goalie? Okay. You can take this in a lot of different ways, this next question. What Canadian team will break the curse?
Ooh, I like that.
Because you could look at that as what team's the best right now or like 4 or 5 years from now. Because I think your guess is as good as mine. There's no way to know. But I do think certain teams are trending in the right direction to at least give themselves more opportunities.
Right now, I'm going to go Edmonton.
Mm-hmm.
They've been there 2 straight years. They have 2 of the 5 best players on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
So to get the goalie. I think Montreal is really starting to improve its chances. I think that's a good answer for the future, Nick. Not the present, but maybe 2-3 years down the line, especially with what they're building. Toronto is obviously up there as well. We still have to see what happens, with Winnipeg, Vancouver. I think a team like Calgary is still a little bit away. Ottawa, of course, they're a good answer for the future as well. But I'll go right now. I'll answer it 2 ways: present, Edmonton; future, I'm inclined to say the Habs, but that's kind of where I'm leaning right now. But if I had to pick one of those, I'd go Edmonton.
I definitely am with you as far as Montreal being the long-term pick. I think they're really set up to have a good 4 or 5 kicks at the can over the next 5-10 years. And that's your goal, man. You only need to break through once, and the more opportunities you get to eventually break through. I think Toronto, Ottawa, Vancouver, Edmonton, Winnipeg, I think they're all kind of in between either plateauing or beginning their decline. And it really depends how they handle the next year or two. Like, I think Ottawa has a little bit more room as far as like maybe they plateau where they are as opposed to falling off because a lot of their key guys are younger. But I think a lot of these teams, Edmonton, Toronto, Vancouver, they're older. Winnipeg as well. Their core players are older. They're having trouble affording to keep key guys. You see Winnipeg losing Ehlers, Edmonton losing all the depth forwards they lost. Vancouver, they're going to be able to afford to keep Quinn Hughes. There's a lot of question marks there as far as those teams go. How long can Mark Scheifele stave off aging? Are any of those young guys like Cole Perfetti going to be able to jump into top 6 impact roles? Okay. Next up, what city does the NHL expand to next, and will that team be there in 2040?
I do believe the team will be there in 15 years. I think it's going to be one of two. Houston, which I think needs a team. I think that's a lot of fun, especially when you look at that sports city. And I do think there is legit momentum for them to go back to Atlanta. Yeah, I think Atlanta is a really good sports town. You have the Falcons there.
Growing. That's the big thing. Atlanta, Houston, and same reason they kept trying to insist on Arizona.
Yeah.
Those are growing demographics part of the country where there is more of an appetite to support things.
No, I think it's one of those two cities. I think San Antonio, there's potentially a way to make that city work as well. Another team in Texas as well. If you maybe want to do a team in Austin, I think that's also a very up and coming city. So could see any of those cities in Texas, but Atlanta is also up there. And I do think once they expand to wherever they go, I think they'll be there in 2040. You also have, Quebec City, I think has also been rumored, but I think it's going to be a team in the U.S.
Almost certainly. Quebec City is just not a big enough city.
Right.
There's not the industrial base. You need the commercial base for that. I mean, that's the problem the Jets have. They very, not so subtly were like, hey, guys, if you don't put deposits down for season tickets, we might have to move the team, trying to guilt people into spending more money. So, yeah, that is a problem in some of the more sparsely populated cities in Canada. Okay. We've got 3 questions left. We've got about 3 minutes left on runtime. Okay. Will Jason Robertson sign another contract in Dallas?
Yes. I don't think he is actually available. And I think the Stars are kind of using this as a little bit of a ploy to try and get the price that they want. And I think eventually they will sign him.
I am in agreement with you. I don't think if you're at where Dallas is in their window of contention, you can trade a player like that. I just don't think you win a trade like that. Recent NHL history shows you it's pretty much impossible to win the superstar trade if you're not getting the superstar. You can maybe make an argument, and I don't think Max Pacioretty qualifies as a superstar, but that's really the only one that comes to mind. When Vegas sent Nick Suzuki to Montreal, Pacioretty went to Vegas. That's really the only one that comes to mind as far as a really good player getting traded and the team acquiring the prospects ended up doing better. You think about Erik Karlsson, didn't get a huge return for Ottawa. You think about Jack Eichel in Buffalo. Alex Tuch's a nice player, but nothing close. And Vegas got the cup, of course. All the guys that Florida got in various trades over the last couple of years. It's really hard to win the trade when you're trading away the best player in the trade. Would you rather have $1 or 3/4? Yeah, technically 3 is more than 1, but that's unfortunate. Okay, we have 2 questions left. Number 1, who is the best player under 25 in the NHL right now?
That's a good one. You know what? I might change it a little bit. Let's just do 25 and under. I'll do Quinn Hughes for that one.
Well, Quinn Hughes is the best defenseman in hockey. I'll give you that.
I'm going to change that just a little bit. I'm going to do Quinn Hughes.
I'll take Jack Hughes. I think in general, you take the superstar forward over the great defenseman. If he stays healthy, he can win the Hart Trophy. It's really that simple. You saw what that Devils team was 2 years ago when they went to the second round. Of course, they've got work to do, but I still think Jack Hughes is one of.
I just got to see him stay healthy.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. That's the reason. That was the impetus for the one question earlier about staying healthy. If Jack Hughes could stay healthy, he'd be in that Kirill Kaprizov tier of Hart Trophy candidates, where as long as the team makes the playoffs, he'd have a really good chance to do it. Okay, last question. Will Alex Ovechkin reach 1,000 goals? He's at 896 or 5, so he needs 105 goals. He's 38 years old.
No. I think this will be his last season, in my opinion, and I think he will retire after this season. Who knows if I'll be right or wrong. I do not think he reaches 1,000 goals, though, right off the hop.
Yeah. I think it's fun if he tries.
Yeah.
I also think you could run into the problem that Justin Verlander is right now, where he's like 30 wins away from 300, but he's also incredibly cooked. He's like 1-9 and has a 5 ERA for the Giants. So nobody really wants to see 43-year-old Ovi putting together 10 goal seasons, trying to get 1,000. So it would be fun if he did, but I agree with you. I think he probably needs to play 3 or 4 more years to make that happen. I know he would probably like to play a season or 2 in the KHL as well when all is said and done. So there's a lot to consider there. It'd be fun if he went for it. I do hope he does go for it. That'll do it for today's edition of Locked On NHL. Thank you to everyone that made Locked On NHL their first listen of the day. Locked On NHL is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we've got your teams covered every day. Be sure to check out the ongoing Locked On NHL game night season previews for all 32 teams leading up to the start of the 2025. I can't believe that's the year 26 season. Hunter and I will talk to you guys next week. Everyone have a fun weekend. We'll see you guys real soon.